I'm Alexander Douglas, and I have spent quite a considerable amount of time trying to make a much slicker video in order to talk to you about a project I am working on for this year's 2021 Manchester Jazz Festival. But instead, what we have is something that is rather closer to the kind of image on which many of us learned about the death of George Floyd. I am one of those people who never watched the video. I didn't need to. But I understand that without the existence of that video and without the decision people made to click on it and watch that death, the development of Black Lives Matter as a coherent and viable civil rights movement, not a dark, sectarian, differently racist enterprise that creates even more problems than it solves, would not exist. But why is it that after all of these years, we still have to talk about the fact that Black Lives Matter? Well, the piece of history that I will be reflecting upon in the new work I am writing for this year's Manchester Jazz Festival is an elegy for those whose lives were taken on the 31st of May and 1st of June 1921, so exactly 100 years ago tomorrow and Tuesday, people whose lives were taken in exactly the same type of way that George Floyd's life was taken. And in his case, as well as the case of many of those involved in the Tulsa massacre, those involved had pledged to serve and protect. So what does this mean for a British jazz festival 100 years later? Well, racial violence is not the past. It is the present. And for those who are wondering why 1 year and 5 days after George Floyd was murdered, and many things have happened that relate to civil rights, maybe it is worth reflecting upon the fact that in America, the actual rate of police killings of people of color, as the Americans would put it, has not actually decreased. So those problems of 1921 and 2020 are still with us in 2021. And so tomorrow we will talk about what happened on the first day of that massacre in Tulsa. And on Tuesday we will talk about what happened on the second day of that massacre in Tulsa. And I will tell you some more about this new piece, about the people who will play it, about its inspirations. And we will talk about how, despite these enormous and ongoing challenges, jazz can still be a way to bring people together rather than something that separates and divides. Because there is so much in our society that is making it easier and easier for people to become and remain separated and divided. And in that sense, I would like to flag wave, that's not perfect English, but you know exactly what I'm saying, to flag wave for the idea that jazz is not simply a music that entertains. And that at the heart of the concept of swing is not something that makes anybody, quote unquote, feel good or feel sweet, but a way in which musicians who were disenfranchised and marginalized could actually experience having agency in ways that they were denied by the society at large. And so jazz is a music of resistance, but not in the ways that tend to be related in the cliched forms of jazz history taught across the Western world and beyond. Jazz is a music in which people actually get to become themselves if they commit the integrity that is required in ways that other Western genres simply don't afford. And so I'm really glad that there is an opportunity for us to reflect on the enormities of the atrocities of racial violence, past and present, and that I have an opportunity to share some ideas in music that in the end can hopefully bring people together and point to the hope for a better world than the one that we currently experience. I look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow.